developments in that terrifying Alaska Airlines mid-flight door blowout story. United now coming forward, saying it has found loose bolts on some Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets. People living under the flight path are now finding random items in the debris field, including phones. Fox 11's Ed Laskos live at LAX with more. Ed.
And those random items now turning to key items, key pieces of evidence for federal investigators as they try to figure out why that section of the fuselage blew out of that Alaska Airlines flight just a few minutes after takeoff last Friday night. It has led to the inspection, the grounding of all of these questionable Boeing 737 MAX 9 jetliners. And United just a little while ago saying as it's been inspecting some of these jetliners, it too has found some loose bolts used to tighten down that section of the fuselage, the door plug as it's called, the part that blew out last Friday night. To the video, let's check it out. We're also learning more now from the feds, the NTSB as well, about the terrifying moments on that ill-fated flight that left Portland, Oregon. You know, it was headed here to the Southland to Ontario Airport, and just a few minutes after takeoff, the feds say the passengers on board, 171 of them, heard a loud bang, a loud boom, and then a very fast depressurization of the cabin. You can see that gaping hole in the fuselage, and it led to a quick put down of that flight, and the feds actually saying something scary, saying luckily here that the flight was still climbing at about 16,000 feet. The feds saying if it had reached its cruising altitude at that point, you know, folks don't have their seat belts on, they're cruising, walking along the cabin itself. My goodness, you could have imagined what happened then when that section of the fuselage let loose. I say that because we now know sections of seats and also cell phones sucked right out of passengers' hands found in the debris field. Listen to some of this.
And I thought the accident happened in a different state. I thought it happened in California. I mean, what are the chances? A freaking headrest dropping out of the sky?
When I opened it up, it was unlocked, sitting in airplane mode, still had half a battery there. And when I opened the screen, it had a baggage claim for Alaska.
Now live, he's talking about an Apple 15 iPhone still working, surviving that free fall of 16,000 feet from that ill-fated flight. And imagine that screen had the baggage claim from a passenger, so presumably that passenger looking at the phone, the baggage claim went on. Next second later, it sucked right out of his hands, out the gaping hole of that fuselage. All of this has led, though, to flight cancellations from Alaska Airlines, from United Airlines, the only two U.S. carriers that use the MAX 9 jetliners. I just checked in here, Terminal 7 United. They have several cancellations tonight. Flights leaving here from LAX bound for Baltimore, Orlando, Houston, Texas, all canceled as these two airlines try to make do as the inspections continue on these questionable 737 MAX 9s. For now, we're live here, LAX. Back to the west side we go.
I mean, a terrible story for Boeing, but what an ad for Apple. I mean, geez, the phone literally flies out the sky and it still works. That's amazing.
16,000 feet.
All right, Ed, thank you for that.
Thanks, Ed. Okay, with more, I'm joined now by travel journalist Peter Greenberg. Thanks so much for being with me tonight. Peter, how big of a problem is this, noting that United today discovered loose bolts, as we just heard in Ed's reporting, and also other issues on the very same plane, on that MAX 9? How big of a problem is this?
Well, let's do a little background here. The FAA can always issue a different series of airworthiness directives. The weakest one is called the Service Bulletin, which things say, oh, there may be a problem, so the next time you bring in the plane, we'll take a look at it. The second one is called a Modified Airworthiness Directive that says we have already discovered a problem and you have until such and such a date to fix it. What we're dealing with here is an Emergency Airworthiness Directive that says we already have a problem and no plane can fly of this model and type until we can fix it. What United Airlines has now discovered with loose bolts and some other structural problems seems to indicate it wasn't just this plane. It may be a fleet-wide issue, which means these planes may not be flying for quite some time in an abundance of caution, and we'll have to wait to see. But right now, those planes will not be flying.
Yeah, so terrible news for Boeing. I mean, its stock fell 8% today. Is this something that Boeing can recover from?
Well, Boeing has recovered from it before. They're the biggest player on the block. They're the biggest company in the United States. So the answer is a qualified yes. But remember, it's about confidence in the company, their delivery systems, their chain of supply, not to mention their engineering, design, and innovation. Because if this is a structural problem system-wide, and keep in mind, you've seen pictures of the people inspecting that particular aircraft, I can guarantee you they're looking at the assembly line of Boeing, too, and all the other planes that are going down that line. If it's as big a problem as it might be, and could be. Boeing's got a problem.
Well, what about for Alaska, though, too? Because as far as I understand, this plane had been already flagged with 3 pressurization issues not long before Friday's incident. Shouldn't have been in the air at all. And you spoke about confidence in the company. What about confidence in flying? What is this going to do to the travel industry? I know that I threw it a lot at you, but there's so many questions to tackle.
Well, let's go first to those pressurization warnings. Those pressurization warnings are just warnings, and in a plane that's thoroughly pressurized from the inside out, it does give a reason for concern, but traditionally not a reason for alarm. They did restrict this plane to not fly over water just in case it had to come back, but the fact that they did that indicated they were concerned. Now, your second question about air safety in general, we've just celebrated the safest 30 years in commercial aviation since aviation began. The question is, can we exceed that record? Probably not. But the real challenge is, can we maintain it? And what we've been seeing over the last couple of years, there are flaws in the system that have not been corrected. A lot of it due to the fact that aircraft companies like Boeing are allowed to certify their own planes as safe. I can tell you right now, if I built a chair and told you I certified it as safe and you should sit in it, don't sit in it. You always need that second voice. And right now, we're looking for that second voice.
You know, you literally make a living off of traveling. Will you, Peter Greenberg, sit in the emergency row and next to the window? Do you feel confident enough to do that?
Well, you know, there's so many other issues at play here, but of course I'm going to fly. I'll be flying later this week. I flew yesterday. I flew yesterday on a 737-800. No incidents, of course. Remember, the 737 is probably the busiest airline plane in the world, different modifications and different models. So it's incumbent upon everybody here to get this problem fixed because so many airlines depend on it, not just in this country, but around the world.
Yeah, it's often said that it's safer to fly than it is to drive. So there you have it. Peter Greenberg, thank you. Safe travels to you.